Hey guys, this is Jaden coming at you with another deck profile, and in this video we will be covering a deck that I really wasn't planning on making, but it is my Vanquisher deck. And I was not going to build this deck, guys, just because there were other things, and I just wasn't going to make it a point to try and get the new support, but then all of a freaking sudden I decided one time when I went to my locals, I'll just buy a box, see what I pull, and I pulled SGR VMAX, and then later that day, I won the tournament, won some packs, opened up 6 packs, and pulled another VMAX, and it was like, okay, fine, I'll build you, leave me alone. So, I was not planning on building Vanquisher, I really wasn't. Not that I don't like Vanquisher, I do. Vanquisher is a fun card, he's really good, and he's extremely broke if you start getting everything flowing the right way. I just was not going to build him. There were just other things that I wanted to build, so it just kind of wasn't a priority, and then all of a sudden when I finished the deck, I will admit I do really like this deck. I have gotten quite a bit of playtesting in with it, and it is really, really good. Tier 1 easy. This deck is, because of VMAX, is Tier 1. It is extremely... It's basically Kagro and Gold Paladin had a baby. It can buff its... It can buff it. This deck can buff the field, buff itself, and it controls the board like crazy. So it's a lot of fun to play. So I enjoy it. And fortunately for me, when I pulled all these VMAX, I had a playset of the Vanquisher crits that I had put in my trade binder because I wasn't going to build the deck. I put my Vanquishers in my trade book because I wasn't going to build Vanquisher. And then I still had some boxes from set 5 that had some of the support that Vanquisher had gotten. And unfortunately, I just had it, so I was just like, okay, fine, I get it, Thunder Gods, you want me to build it, so I'm glad I did. This deck is a lot of fun to play. It is extremely annoying for your opponent to deal with, especially if they have a Legion variant deck. So this deck is a lot of fun to play. Fair warning, though, you will probably get a little bit of hate for this because VMAX is VMAX, and if you haven't heard of VMAX yet, by the end of this video, you'll hate him if you don't already. So anyway, guys, let's just jump straight into this deck profile. So we have, for our starting Vanguard, it's Ascetic Draco Kid. This is from set 9. This is one of the new cards. Forerunner, Thunderstrike 1. When this unit boosts, it boosts for 7k. Its other ability, Generation Break 1. When any player's rearguard other than this unit is retired from the rearguard due to card effects during your turn, you may retire this unit. If you do, your opponent chooses one of his or her face-up rearguards, retires it, and binds it. So it gets you another retire and bind. It's kind of like Dragon Knight Sajay is for Kagro, the one where if you retire one of your opponent's units by effect, you retire him, and then your opponent has to drop another unit. So he's kind of like that, except this unit, the unit he picks off, is going to get retired and then binded. So, very good. For the triggers, we're playing 4 copies of Lightning of the Triumphant Return Resef, which is the Vanquisher Heart Thump clone. When a Vanquisher Vanguard attacks, put him in the soul, plus 5,000 power, and draw a card. And then we play 2 copies of Malevolent Djinn. This critical trigger came out of set 6 back in the golden days of Vanguard. Back before even limit breaks were a thing. Actually, no, this is the set that Vermilion came in, so I think this is the set that limit breaks actually became a thing. But anyway, you can place him in the soul and give 3,000 power to a unit of your choice. He's a Margot clone. Next, we are playing 4 copies of Dragon Dancer Vian. Stand trigger from set 2. Very good card. Her ability is Generation Break 1. When your opponent's rearguard is put into the drop zone, you may place this unit on top of your deck. If you do, shuffle your deck, draw 1 card, and then countercharge 1. This card's really good because if it's on the field, when you stride, you basically get Vanquisher's stride skill for free, and you draw another card. So it replaces itself, and you really don't lose anything. So it's a way, and it gets the stand trigger back in the deck, and stands in this deck actually work really well, which is why we also play 2 copies of the new one from set 9, Djinn of the gen of the Rainy Dust Storm. Skill is Generation Break 1. When this unit is placed on the rear guard, this unit gets plus 3,000 power until end of turn. Then choose one of your units, and that unit gets the ability Auto Thunderstrike 1. When this unit's attack hits a Vanguard, your opponent chooses one of his or her rear guards, retires it, and binds it face up. So, really good card, but max out on Vian, and then just play 2 of this. You don't have to play the stands, but I really like them, and in testing, they're doing just fine. And if you can rip some stands with some of your G-Zone, it's pretty insane. And then we play 4 heal triggers and 4 Deity of Love, for obviously our G-Guardians. So 6 crit, 6 stand, 4 heal. Grade 1s. 4 copies of Dragon Dancer Anastasia. This is the Narukami G Perfect, so helps you countercharge. This deck does counterblast a fair amount, so you really do want the countercharging Perfect guards. Next, we play 4 copies of Chainbolt Dragoon. This card came out in set 5 when Vanquisher got his first main. What set did Vanquisher come out in? Vanquisher came out in set 2, so this is the first set that Vanquisher actually got more support. But anyway, Generation Break 1, once per turn. When your opponent's rear guard is put into the drop zone due to an effect from one of your cards, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Vanquisher in its card name, your opponent chooses a card from his or her drop zone and binds it face up. If a card was bound, choose up to one of your other units and it gets plus 2k until end of turn. So if you have 2 of these on the field, you can really start binding a lot of shit. So, very good card, an easy 4 of. Next, we play 4 Mighty Bolt Dragoon. This is our Narukami Stride Enabler. Helps you search Vanquisher because you want to ride Vanquisher every single time. I do play 8 grade 3s in this deck, but the other grade 3 that I play other than Vanquisher is a card that I like to use as a rear guard as well, so I use this to max out my opportunities to stride, and this will increase the opportunities that you get to search Vanquisher out, or if you don't draw it into your opening hand. So that's why that's there. And then the last card is we play 2 copies of Trainee Monk Dragon. His ability is Auto Thunderstrike 1. When this unit attacks the Vanguard, this unit gets plus 2,000 power, so he can swing at the Vanguard for 9,000 by himself. And then his other skill, Act Generation Break 1. Put this unit into your soul, and then choose your Vanguard with Vanquisher in its card name until the end of the turn it gets. When this unit attacks the Vanguard, choose one of your opponent's rear guards, and this unit battles both the Vanguard and the unit on the chosen rear guard in one attack. So you can put this in the soul of your Vanguard, and whenever it attacks, it will attack a Vanguard. It will attack your opponent's Vanguard and then any rear guard that you want. So you can use this to pick off something in the back row if there's something back there that you can't hit. So, grade 2, 4 copies of Demonic Dragon Berserker Chotara. Chotara is by far my favorite grade 2 Narukami unit. His ability is continuous. This unit cannot attack a rear guard, but his other skill, during your turn, this unit gets plus 3,000 power when he attacks, and he gets 3,000 power during your turn, and then when this unit's attack hits a Vanguard, you may counterblast 1. If you do, draw a card, and then choose a card from your opponent's drop zone and bind it face up. So you can use this in the early game to rush your opponent because he attacks for 11, and you can use him to draw a card and bind cards out of your opponent's drop zone, and you get to pick it with him. So you can, if they say use a perfect guard early game, you can bind it out of the drop zone. So if they're using G perfects, then you can throw out their perfect guard so they won't be able to inflict as easy. So that's something. Next, we play 3 copies of Voltage Horn Dragon. Voltage Horn Dragon is a really good card. I played it in Vermilion, actually. Generation Break 1. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, if the unit is boosted, you may pay the cost. If you do, your opponent chooses one of his or her rear guards, retires it, and binds it. So, another way for you to bind cards. 2 copies of Rock Climb Dragoon. This came out in set 5. Generation Break 1, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1. When this unit is placed on the rear guard, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Vanquisher in its card name, you may pay the cost. If you do, your opponent chooses one of his or her rear guards, retires it, binds that card face up, and this unit gets plus 2,000 power until end of turn. So he becomes 11, so he can attack your opponent's Vanguard by himself, which is nice. And then lastly, we play 2 copies of Martial Arts Dragon. So Martial Arts Dragon is a new card from set 9. When this unit is placed on the Vanguard, you may Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1. If you do, choose one of your opponent's rear guards in the front row, retire it, and bind that card face up. And this card is not generation restricted, so you can use this early game to clear out your opponent's front row, which is really nice. And his other skill is Generation Break 1, Thunderstrike 2. He gets plus 3,000 power during your turn, so he can attack for 12. So that's really nice. One second, guys. There's sorry, guys. Something fell off my counter. But anyway, so grade 2 lineup, really good. You can play more of this if you want, because to be real honest, I actually considered cutting Rock Climb altogether, but Rock Climb does come in use sometime when you need to bind that one extra card. So this seems to work out just fine. Grade 3s. 4 copies of Dragonic Vanquisher. So Dragonic Vanquisher, his ability is, and in case you're wondering, I did not pull the Narukami secret pack from set 9. I actually traded for this because I needed one more Vanquisher. Generation Break 2. When your opponent's rear guard is put into the drop zone due to an effect from one of your cards, this unit gets plus 3,000 power and plus 1 crit. So you can stack this up pretty high if you can't stride, but you can retire quite a few units. Excuse me, guys. And then during your turn, when your G unit strides on this card, you may Counterblast 1. If you do, choose one of your opponent's rear guards in the front row, retire it, and bind that card face up. So, Dragonic Vanquisher. And then for the last grade 3 is we play 4 copies of a card that came out in set 5 called 1 Strike, 2 Hits Djinn. It is a grade 3 with 10,000 power. You might be asking yourself what this card does. Well, I'll tell you. It's really good. Vanguard or rear guard once per turn, Thunderstrike 2, Generation Break 1. You may Soul Blast 1 unit. Until end of turn, this unit gets plus 2,000 power and the continuous skill of, so it becomes 12,000, and when this unit would choose a unit to attack, choose up to 1 each of your opponent's Vanguards and rear guards, and this unit battles all of the chosen units in one attack. So, when this unit attacks, it can attack the Vanguard and any rear guard that you want, regardless of where it is on the board. That's really good. You can use this and pick off the things in the back row that you can't get at with Vanquisher, because Vanquisher can only bind things that are in the front row. And what's really mean about this card is it keeps that 2,000 power and skill until end of turn. It's not till the end of battle. So if you attack with this for 12, and if you have a 7k boost, it swings for 19, so it can attack 2 units, and then you hit a stand trigger and it stands back up and it's 17. When it attacks again, you can choose a new rear guard to go after along with the Vanguard. So this thing with a stand trigger is pretty freaking mean. So this card is really, really good. It came out in set 5, and it is a rare. It's called 1 Strike, 2 Hits Djinn. If you are going to be playing Vanquisher, I highly recommend it. So, next for G-Zone. I will admit the G-Zone is kind of linear because Narukami G units are a little slim, but they are all extremely effective. First, we are playing 4 copies of Conquering Supreme Dragon, Dragonic Vanquisher Voltage. So, Dragonic Vanquisher Voltage, once per turn, you can choose a face-down card called Conquering Supreme Dragon, Dragonic Vanquisher Voltage. God, that's a lot. from your G zone and turn it face up, and until end of turn, this unit gets. When this unit attack hits a Vanguard, your opponent chooses one of his or her rear guards and retires it, and you choose up to 2 cards from your opponent's drop zone and bind them face up. And then it also has continuous Generation Break 3. During your turn, all units in your front row get plus 3,000 power for each card in your opponent's bind zone. So you can get your front row up to insane numbers if you have 8 cards bound of your opponent, which is not hard. Your entire front line will gain 24,000 power. So this card is amazing. When he very first came out, he was at best, because there was really they just didn't have enough. But because of this set and all the extra support they got, this card is now officially amazing. Next, we are playing 4 copies of Conquering Supreme Dragon, Conquest Dragon. So this card is really freaking good. He came out way back in Set 2. His ability is once per turn, choose a face-down card called Conquering Supreme Dragon, Conquest Dragon from your G-Zone and turn it face up. If the number of face-up cards in your G-Zone is 2 or more, basically Generation Break 2, choose one of your opponent's rear guards in the front row, retire it, and all units in your front row get plus 5,000 power for each of your opponent's open rear guards in the front row until end of turn. So if your opponent has 2 units in the front row, use Vanquisher to get rid of one of them, and then use Conquest to kill the other, and your entire front line gains 10,000 power for the turn. Which, with either one of these strides, if you're using the Generation Break 3 skill of him is activated, or you're using Conquest, this card is absolutely stupid, because he's going to gain a shit ton of power off of this, and he's going to gain 10,000 power off this, plus another 2,000 power off his own skill. So under Conquest, this thing swings for 22 plus whatever you're boosting it with. Usually it's going to be 29 at 2 units, and this, it can just get to insane numbers. So these 2 units alone make 1 strike 2 hits so amazing, and with all the stand triggers as well. Next, we are playing 2 copies of Conquering Supreme Dragon, Dragonic, Vanquisher, VMAX. So, VMAX. His ability, Generation Break 3, Thunder Strike 5. At the end of the battle that this unit attacked a Vanguard, if your opponent has no rear guards, you may pay the cost of Counterblast 2. If you do, choose one of your opponent's Vanguards and deal 1 damage. There is no damage restriction on this. Your opponent can be at 5 damage and you can activate this skill. So if your opponent is at 5 damage after he attacks and they have no rear guards, Counterblast 2 and deal them 1 damage. If it isn't a heal trigger, they lose. And he helps you clear out multiple rear guards with his skill, which is when this unit attacks a Vanguard, choose one of your opponent's rear guards for each face-up card with Vanquisher in its card name in your G-Zone, and this unit battles both the Vanguard and the units of the chosen rear guards in 1 attack. So, when Vanquisher attacks, he's always going to attack the Vanguard. And then for every copy of a Vanquisher stride, right now the only one we have is Voltage. So basically for every copy of Voltage that's face up, that's 1 extra rear guard that you get to target. So if all 4 are face up, he attacks the Vanguard and any 4 rear guards that you want. If 2 are face up, he attacks the Vanguard and any 2 rear guards you want. So what that leads me to believe with this card is we're going to be getting at least 1 more Vanquisher stride, and that makes sense considering one of the characters on one of the main 3 teams plays it. So that leads me to believe that we're going to get another Vanquisher stride. You only need 2 VMAX, and you can really get away with only 1, but I would prefer 2 because I have seen people death heal off VMAX before, off his skill. So I play the 2 VMAX just for safety. But remember, you got to be Generation Break 3, and you got to have 5 cards, at least 5 cards bound. That is the magic number. And then for the last stride, we play 1 copy of Conquering Supreme Dragon, Voltec Zapper Dragon. This card came out in Fighters Collection, and he is actually really amazing in this deck. He can bind a shit ton of stuff, actually. His ability is Thunder Strike 3. When this unit attacks a Vanguard until the end of that battle, this unit gets plus 10,000 power. And at the end of the battle, Counterblast 1. At the end of the battle, you may pay the cost. If you do, for every 2 cards in your opponent's bind zone, your opponent chooses one of his or her rear guards, retires it, and binds that card face up. So if you say have 4 cards, if your opponent has 4 cards that are in the bind zone, when he attacks, at the end of the battle, counterblast 1, and your opponent has to take 2 of their units and bind them. So he can help you get to that magic number. So that's pretty good. So that's literally all our G units right there. Our G Guardians, we play 5 in total. At the moment in here, there are 2 copies of Lightning King Spirit Emperor Virtra. Her ability is Thunderstrike 1. She gains 5,000 power. So if 1 card is bound, she's a 20k shield, which is, you know, nothing. But one of these will be taken out for VMAX. I'm not VMAX. Dismal, just to protect yourself in the mirror match. And then the last G Guardian is we're playing 3 copies of Sky Guardian, Supreme Dragon, Bulwark Dragon. So his ability is Thunderstrike 3, activated when your opponent has 3 or more cards in the bind zone. This unit gets plus 10,000 shield, so he's a 25k shield under Thunderstrike 3. And then at the end of the battle that this unit is placed on the Guardian Circle, for every 4 cards in your opponent's bind zone, choose up to 1 rear guard in your opponent's front row that is rested and retire it. So you can, this is actually a pretty mean card to use against Aquaforce, because they're going to attack with their rear guards first, and you spring this and you can kill both their units in the front row, so on a Lambros turn, this is actually pretty scary. So anyway, that's the G-Zone. You can take out 2 Conquests and play a second Voltec Zapper, and then maybe a Sea Breeze if you want. I might try that, but to be real honest, I like the 4 Conquests. So, and then obviously you don't want to cut any of your Vanquisher stuff, and I like the 1 Voltec Zapper. So if I was going to cut anything, I would take out 2 Conquests and play a second Voltec Zapper, and then 1 Sea Breeze. And then obviously, like I said, one of these would become Dismal. So that's just a couple more ideas if you want a few more for the G-Zone. But that is that. So anyway, guys, that is my Vanquisher deck. This deck is a lot of fun to play. It's very annoying for your opponent because VMAX can just stop the game in an instant, and he is extremely easy to pull off. With a grade 2 lineup that does nothing but bind, and then Vanquisher binds, and then strides that bind, it's real easy to get to that magic number 5. So this deck is real fun. It's real control heavy, and it's actually very aggro. It's a lot of fun. So if you're looking for a good control deck to play in this format that is really good, I would highly recommend Vanquisher. So anyway, guys, in the comment section below, please tell me what you think. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, thumbs up this video, share your thoughts with me below. Always love hearing what you guys have to say. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I will see you later.